Here's part 2 in the ABW news series. I found information on concepts for what could be reworks changes on how Whitesnake and Diver Down function. Keep in mind that there's only 2 concepts and these are subject to change in Update 3. At first glance, it's seen that Diver Down is getting a huge buff. From looking at the concept for this, I may consider this buff overpowered for Diver Down. And instead of an HP increase, I believe it should be giving an HP decrease instead. Yes, this is about Diver Down getting a buff, which I believe should happen. Diver Down doesn't have approach tools it needs to land attacks, which means competitively it isn't very good. This, however, changes that. For one, Z is being replaced with the current Z Glide. This is a nerf to Diver Down's battlefield control, however, due to the changes I believe this could be necessary. C will be a shorter dash to replace Glide, which will function similar to Roll. This in itself would balance out Diver Down. Let's continue reading. It makes it so that Z is faster and longer. Now, this is interesting. I like how they sped up the Glide, and it could even be as useful as the old Z, and on top of that, it's cancelable by hitting Z again. This is a great addition for Diver Down, and it makes the Glide much more nuanced and strategic. An HP buff, which I don't believe needs to take place. Diver Down as it stands as a burst combo aggressive ability with tools to create openings in it with its spacing. It's also harder to punish due to less grabs, meaning that Diver Down should have a lower HP, rather than higher due to how easily it is to perfect opponents who aren't fully careful. Make specific attacks faster. The attacks I suggest should get a speed boost is Standoff R, Tandem R, Stand on Y, LMB Chain, and Stand on T. And cooldown separation. This suggestion I don't want really. Diver Down can still pull off infinite combos in 0 to death as it stands, so separating cooldowns wouldn't make much sense. It's not required for the stand to be powerful, and knowing when your stand on, standoff, and tandem moves requires a lot of knowledge of game function, as well as stand function, which is why I believe the stand on and tandem should have the same cooldown. However, I think standoff and stand on should share different cooldowns, because as it stands, standoff is not favored by a lot of people. Standoff changes say that LMB chain has not been added yet, which implies that there may be an LMB chain, however I do not know for sure. Standoff E's speed is increased and deals stun, which was useful for reasons I don't notify in the next video. Standoff R will knock down faster, which will lose a bit of its clash probability, but come on, no one uses clash with Standoff R. T adds tick damage, which implies a damage buff, or reworking damage, to be timed during T. It also slows the target afterwards. If T ends up dealing more damage, it could rival Tandem T in useful factor. Currently, you cannot attack during T even if you block, however, this will be fixed due to 1 rework in combat. F says it would add something that makes it more combo capable, which the obvious answer is here. It would need to extend the hitbox duration. That would make it more viable mid-combo and give it larger upside to use F in certain situations. It also lunges at the beginning, making it easier to hit the standoff, however, it can be a pain if you're already close. And it will have adjusted damage-wise. Currently the damage does equal to F to E. Damage being tweaked would be okay if they were both nerfed or buffed due to the move already being more consistent to land than F to E. Really, I don't think this needs a damage buff that much, or a damage nerf. However, I do think Standoff F should be an animation that locks a user over the target, so that you can't miss as much as you really can currently. Diver Down's LMB chain speed is increased, which is good since the move is too predictable to abuse the range of, and knockback is increased, making it harder to use in combos due to range, but also making it less punishable than it already is. Diver Down's R applies bleed for longer, and during this bleed, damage will be increased. This I have an issue with. It would be hard to balance considering the stand on R and stand on F is a true combo. This means that stand on R to stand on F to E to stand off T would all deal massive damage and leave the opponent slowed and vulnerable to other attacks. Stand on F already does large amounts of damage, so giving us a damage cap or making sure that stand on R to stand on FE doesn't guarantee the opponent's death would be a great addition. My thoughts should be that stand on R immediately drops the opponent to prevent them from being hit by F after R. Instead, you'll have to use Y or risk VT, which would be much more balanced. It also has a cool effect on the side. Diver Down's T speed is heavily increased, which is what I wanted. This move rarely lands and is overshadowed by R due to the R and F to move stack, so this feature would be great. During the blur now, you won't hit stun or ragdoll and the blur gets worse. This could create some balancing issues, however if DD tries anything too risky, they could lose the exchange damage wise. I would like if the blur effect and the slowdown effect to be negated if you were to block the attack. The frog, when you land T on someone who's low, now hits 5 times instead of 1, and does not ragdoll after missing, as well as attacking more frequently. This can be good for 2v1 situations, where you take advantage of low HP opponents to land frog on them, and then they dash at your enemies to deal more damage towards them. Also, another tip is that frog ragdolls opponents. So, if you're in a 2v1 with diver down, and you hit someone who's low with normal T, they will jump, hopefully, at the enemy, and ragdoll them, so then you can land your combo afterwards. VR to VY to F, whatever you have in stock. Really strong as it is, I hope it's even more useful now. Why has an animation changed? The initial hit stuns and the second hit appears under the enemy instead of before diver down itself while the delay is removed. This is fine. It makes the move more viable during neutral and therefore makes whiffing attacks to bait more viable as well, since TD needs defensive play. The F hits low instead of mid, which is better for combos. This is fine as long as R to F isn't a true combo due to how much damage that would be. R's new buff plus F would be disastrous for this game's balancing, in all honesty. They also get hit stun without damage when diver down enters his body, and the speed is increased to the move. F to E does more damage progressively and makes the target's screen flash red during it. Diver down during FR will appear above the opponent to knock them down instead of behind them, and the knockdown speed is faster. I'd also like the end lag of the move to be halved. Possibly it would make FR to E to VT a greater combo. F to F does more damage when the opponent hits the ground and they are slowed afterwards, which gives it a reason to be used other than cooldown farming, which can be done with E. However, you can actually use F to F currently, just if you're in a 2v1, by landing F on someone who is chasing you and using F to F to make sure that they don't attack you while you try to attack another person. You also have your stand back, so yeah. Pro tip of the day. Now for tandem mode. VR's lunge is shorter, so it's easier to land, which is great. I have this issue a lot. V to Y is an animation change to prevent others from being confused, which I personally kind of dislike. Using it by surprise took skill, however, it could be argued that with the power of this move that would be necessary, which now thinking about it, is completely true. It only travels a straight line now, and it prevents opponents from attacking as well. Restrained people can only take an amount of damage before being released. I would like this move to not be able to hit ragdolls and ignore blocking, however, because that would be extremely overpowered if you could land VT to VY. That's all of Diver Down's changes. I personally think that with the tweaks, Diver Down will be really fun to play and bring justice to the menacing character of NSOE, because currently it is very extremely hard to play, and it does not feel strong in any way, especially if your opponent knows how to play against this god. It's a nightmare.